let's just run a test real quick to make sure that we don't butcher things. My stream doesn't not my stream. It's not a stream. I'm not streaming. My recording doesn't skip frames or crash. Okay. Okay, now we're redoing this again. After we've got that out of the way. Welcome to what is now episode 2 of the Digital Discord. Discord? Wow. Okay. Take 3. Wait, I don't. Oh, where's my? Oh, wait, hang on. No, I didn't get my my outline. Oh my god. Okay, take like I don't even know anymore. Like 5 or 6.
Somewhere around there.
Something like that.
As long as we don't hit double digits, we're fine.
So, welcome to the Digital Discourse podcast, the show where 2 regular guys talk about the Digimon trading card game. My name is Vincent, and joined with me today is my co-host Tony. You have no many times You have no idea how many times we've practiced this. And today we actually have like a somewhat structured outline, right? Like we have a layout and everything now, and we have a couple of things we want to talk about. Today's episode is really just going to be about the release of 1.0. Today's date is December 3rd, so the game has been available in English for almost a week now, and we wanted to talk about the initial release. We're also going to talk about the product itself and like the distribution of the cards, as well as like what's going to be next for the game. So with all that being said, I feel like we've messed up enough in the background that I kind of just want to get into it and talk about it. So, the game has been out again for about 6 days now, and it's finally got out of its, whatever they called it, their super promo pre-release things, and we finally got a hold of like the actual cards themselves. And I have to say, just on like an actual product release, the card quality themselves, it's fantastic. And I brought this up last time as well, because I've had a Japanese card, but the card stock is fantastic. The booster packs were great. They're fun to open, and the pull ratios were solid. I think that was planned as well. Actually, I don't know. There was a lot of like Reddit and Discord and Facebook threads about how it was expected to get like a fixed ratio per box, which I found to be very enjoyable. Like I mean, obviously, like you didn't get to open any boxes, unfortunately.
No.
But I opened 6 boxes, and it was a pretty good time. It was pretty fun to crack everything open, knowing that I was going to get certain pulls. So yeah, that part itself was great. So the box opening experience and everything, getting like the dash packs and the promo packs and all that stuff was fantastic. What I wanted to talk about today, specifically with like the opening day, Friday, like Black Friday when the cards first came out, is the not pre-release, but the day one prices of singles. They were crazy. So the thing about this game too that makes it a little more interesting is that we've seen these cards before, right? Like Japan has had these cards, and their meta has been close, not exactly the same as ours, but pretty darn close to what we've got on our initial wave. So you would think, in theory, that we would be able to predict where the prices are going to go, right? So we would see certain cards that would be, $20 in the Japanese market, and they would go for quite literally $200. There were certain alternate art cards that were going for over 10 times the price in certain occasions. And I think, and I don't know what you think, Tony, but I think it has to do really with just the newness, right? This is a completely brand new product, not just like a brand new product or set, but it's a brand new game that's available to people.
Right.
A lot of people are collectors, and they want to see the cards. And for what it's worth, the cards themselves are beautiful. Like I don't know if I have any of the promo cards, but yeah, I do. But like the cards themselves are fantastic. They're really pretty, and they're just good to look at. So like if you're a fan of Digimon, then you just want to own some of the cards. A lot of people have like huge FOMO, like fear of missing out. But like look at this card. Like they're pretty. They're really good to look at.
Yeah. Just on the camera itself, it looks great. I can't imagine how they are in person.
Well, you'll find out soon.
Oh.
But yeah, no, like I think a mix of like fear of missing out and just like the overall newness of the product, people, and the scarcity too. Like people were really just going after anything they could.
Yeah, I think that's what the main reason for that. Well, FOMO was pretty close second, but the fact that there was just not a lot of this product out at all.
Yeah, which
why the reason why and people don't want to wait another month before they can get the product on its own and probably at a much reasonable price.
Yeah, that's true too. Actually, I didn't even think about that. There is that tournament coming up as well, like the pre-release tournament. So people are trying to like build fully assembled decks and everything too. So that is another factor I didn't really consider. Like I personally, like I've got like a deck that I'm trying to complete for this very thing, and I bought stuff not on day one. Which on that note, like I know because you are holding off a little bit on purchasing cards, and maybe actually after the stuff we talk about in today's video, I don't know how long you plan on purchasing, like how long you plan on waiting to purchase, but like the prices of cards immediately tanked like within the first 24 hours. There was like that bubble that instantly burst. A good example is there was that $200 card that it was an alternate art War Greymon in black, and I'll put it actually up here so you guys can see it. But that card in Japan goes for like $20, and it sold for $200, and then that it sold for $200 at around 9 p.m. on Friday. At 12 a.m. Saturday morning, so 3 hours later, it dipped to about $120, and then I woke up the following morning and it dipped to about $90. And that was kind of like the trend for a lot of the cards after day one, like that. I wouldn't say the hype died down. It was like people came to their senses. Because
you realize, like, wait a minute, it's gonna come out
this is a lot.
Price pretty soon. We
should
probably cut down a little bit.
And the hype for the product.
I don't know if the supply ran out.
Yeah, the hype for the product is there, and we're gonna talk about that as well because it is incredibly hard to get product right now. But before we talk about that, I really want to talk about like the first set itself and kind of like what to expect from the get-go, because there are a lot of people who you'll probably stumble across this and you know you're interested in the game and you want to learn or you want to figure out what people are doing and you want to metagame. And 1.0 is kind of it's an interesting set, primarily because we've got about 3 months, right? December, roughly 3 months to play with this set, and there's going to be some pre-release events. There's going to be some webcam things, and a lot of people just want to get their hands on the cards as soon as they can so they can play the game. And we feel that it's important for you to understand like what the meta is probably going to look like and kind of what you can expect jumping into it. We're not here to tell you what the best things are or like what you should or should not play because we're scrubs.
We don't know enough and haven't played enough to justify it.
No,
to say that.
But what we can say is these are the decks that you will probably see from the get-go and kind of like what you should prepare for. And eventually we'll look into stuff moving forward and everything like that. But just kind of like as things go, I think realistically we're going to see these three things, and these are going to be like the decks to beat at first, and then naturally you're going to have a lot of people who just want to play for fun. I mean, obviously we're all playing for fun, but like people who want to play a little more casually, people who want to build their own versions of like rogue decks and stuff like that. And I feel like we'll kind of see that when we talk about the purple list here. But the first one, the big one, the one card where if we have to talk about money and finance and everything as well, and this is not going to be Digimon Finance, right? Like we're not going to turn into that channel. But the first list that you should probably be aware of is Omnimon, because he is the big one. He is probably the most. I don't want to call him overhyped because that's not the right word to use, but he's the one with the most attention on him, just as a single card. There are a lot of people who, regardless of how you feel about Omnimon as a card and as a deck archetype, you just have to acknowledge that he's going to be prominent. There are kind of people in two camps with this. There are people who love Omnimon and just accept the fact that he is a house of a card, and then you have the other people who don't necessarily like him because he's either really popular or really powerful, or both, right? Like the hipsters, if you will. And the whole shtick of the Omnimon deck is essentially to ramp up and evolve into Omnimon as fast as you can by building up either red or blue, but generally red creatures, Digimon, that have typically low evolution costs. And the idea behind it is you can basically spend 5 memory to go from a level 2 to a level 6 before you get to Omnimon. So if your opponent gives you enough room and you have a good enough hand, you could literally go from a Digitama to your level 6, and then on your next turn just drop Omnimon. if somebody gives you 5, which in itself is scary, and that's not something to like scoff at. But that's the whole shtick. And then once Omnimon's out, you kind of just go to town because you kill something because of Omnimon's Digivolve effect, and then you just swing repeatedly. Your deck has extra security attacks with red Digimon. Omnimon is not a red Digimon, by the way. But like you just go in and you try to knock somebody out in like 1 or 2 turns after Omnimon is out. That's the whole gist. Pretty straightforward. The second deck is going to be Rookie Rush, Tony's favorite deck.
Favorite deck.
I
love that.
Generally speaking, this deck is focused around a bunch of rookies or level 3s and occasionally level 4s that just try to swarm the board as cheaply and as efficiently as possible. And you play a couple of bigger creatures, specifically Puppetmon, and you also play the option Flower Cannon to basically lock down your opponent for 1 or 2 turns where they can't attack you and try to close out the game as swiftly as possible. The deck itself it's very aggressive, it's relentless, it forces you to play their game. For anyone that plays Magic the Gathering, it is kind of similar to like Red Deck Wins, sort of, kind of, but not really. It's just your typical aggressive deck. And while in the future there will be significantly more ways to deal with Rookie Rush, it's one of those things where aggro in this game so far is not going to go anywhere, and because of the limited tools that are available in 1.0, it's just going to be more prominent than it probably will be in the future. So that's just something to look out for. It's also a really cheap deck for people who are looking to play something a little bit more meta, but also a little bit on the inexpensive side. Like, I have a fully assembled Rookie Rush deck, and I think there's only 8 rares in the deck. No, I lied. There's a couple more rares than that. But generally speaking, like, you could build an entire Rookie Rush deck for the cost of 1 Omnimon. Like, you've got Upamon, who's a rare, so you have to get 4 of those, 4 Gabumon, and then Flower Cannon's a rare if you like locking people down, and then Puppetmon's a rare. So, like, there's a couple of rares in there, but generally speaking, it's a bunch of, like, I almost said draft cards, but, like, that's not the right word. There's, like, commons and uncommons. You can build this deck incredibly cheap, for literally the cost of 1 Omnimon.
Yeah, and most of the time you can just win, not even having to use Puppetmon or the Flower Cannon.
Yeah.
Just having the body.
You just go at it. Yeah, so, like, I would not feel too bad if I had to just, like, if I opened a box, right? If you were fortunate enough to have bought a box of Booster Set 1.0 and you just opened up everything you could probably build Rookie Rush right then and there. There's a couple of things that you would be missing, but it's not the end of the world because Rookie Rush doesn't really care. You can kind of turn your brain off and just go. I would say for new players, it's probably like the easiest deck to teach people because it's literally just slam these down and hit face. Doesn't teach you the best habits, and your friends are gonna call you degenerates. And it also doesn't like capture the core essence of the game, but you know it teaches people like some basic mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the last deck in this one, we'll have Mr. Purple talk about. And this one, we're just kind of calling Purple good stuff because, like, Tony, I don't know if you've seen the lists online, but they're kind of like all over the place. Like,
yeah, I haven't found any like really
consistent.
Concrete. Like, it's just all over the place.
I think like the only concrete thing I've seen is like Piedmon.
Piedmon,
People really like Piedmon. They really like what's his name, Millenniummon. Those are like the 2 super consistent things that are always in there. But yeah, these decks go like so many different ways. You can talk about this one because you play Purple way better than I do.
Yeah, it's the only color I actually ever really play.
But like, yeah.
No, you were gonna say something?
No, go ahead. Explain these purple decks because I don't really understand. I mean, I understand them, but
yeah. So the nice thing, the gist of purple deck is you try to really remove the options from your opponent as much as possible. You're not here. You don't really win by putting out really big answers like most other colors. I take away your options.
But you could.
You could. You very well could, but that's not really how you win.
That's where like this is where like
taking away people's answers.
Yeah, I don't know. See, like what bugs me about 1.0 Purple is that there's a lot of ways to go about building it, and I don't feel like any of them are like
they're not that good.
I wouldn't even say they're not that good because some of them are good, but they're not like tier 1 good. And this is, again, early impression. We're not dumping on purple. In fact, purple gets some cool stuff later, which we'll talk about. But
Flappy.
I don't know. It's weird because like if you wanted to play a big creature in purple, you have Piedmon, you have Millenniumon, and Millenniumon's pretty sticky and it removes something, so it's kind of like an Omnimon sort of. But it also like doesn't evolve as quickly as Omnimon, which isn't to say that's the end of the world. It's still a good card.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's another problem with purple is that it's slow.
Kind of. See, like that's the thing. It's kind of slow, but then like there's I don't know because you could play like option heavy with Lilithmon, which that one is slower. You could do the discard thing, and with like Beelzemon and stuff. You could mash up all of these things. Like I've heard people making purple Rookie Rush, which is interesting. Well, not bad or anything. It's interesting. Like
they're interesting. To say
yeah, I don't know. Like purple is from what I've seen so far. Purple is like the underdog color that every I don't want to call them hipsters, but I'm going to call them hipsters, and I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean, if you look at me, like, whatever. But purple is that color that, like, it's the underdog color. Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to win. When I was selling singles, purple cards went by, like, literally twice as fast as everything else, because people just wanted to try it. In 1.0, it's the most versatile, and it allows for the most, like, creative expression. But whether or not you can defeat Omnimon with it, in general, is still, like, hard to say. But I don't know, again, we're not the greatest players ever or anything like that.
No.
It's just kind of like our early an early prediction, and we'll kind of see what's going on as the game progresses in the next couple months. There's going to be more tournaments. There's already a couple of like early pre-release tournaments. In fact, I'm joining a tournament on Sunday. I mentioned it. But there's
you got in.
Yeah, well, no, so there's another tournament. So that one the official tournament is on the 12th and the 13th, I believe. That one's sponsored by Bandai. And then there is a local game store in Canada that's hosting their own webcam-based tournament that anybody can enter. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to scrub out. And my only goal is to just go positive, right? Like get more wins and losses, and I'll be happy. So we'll see. But no, I don't know. I think it's interesting. And maybe, hopefully, throughout time, we'll see more rogue decks as the game progresses. But really, like, I don't see 1.0 being hyper diverse in like the competitive scene. I think most of the competitive decks from the beginning are going to be kind of samey, which is a little unfortunate to say, and I would typically be worried, but we know what's coming down the line, so I'm not that bothered. So like, I don't know. To me, that's just like,
getting
whatever.
Really good, interesting cards that will definitely shake up the meta, but also it's still pretty early. They don't have a lot of cards, so
Yeah.
they don't have much room to like really be creative with their decks.
Yeah.
So it's really not the dude's fault per se.
And also, I like Omnimon because I'm scum.
I hate you.
So I'm cool with it.
I'm not helping the situation here. You're part of the problem.
Yeah, I am. I'm part of the 4 of problem. So with that being out of the way, with like the early game kind of like predictions, one big thing that I really did want to talk about is the product itself, right? Like the boxes and the allocations of everything, because
You can't
it's
find anything.
yeah, because it's a new game. It's a new game. We're in quarantine, and it completely surpassed expectations of like every place that I can imagine. So we said this last time as well. To an extent, we have to give Bandai a little bit of a break here because COVID actually did slow things down. So there is sort of a pass here. But what was interesting is that like pretty much every local game store that I've contacted was that this game has done way more numbers than it was supposed to, and it's sold out of like everything that it could have possibly sold out of. You can't find starter decks anymore, and if you do, they are significantly marked up. Like, I don't know. This game is one of those games where like there is no MSRP. There is, but it's only a suggested retail price. It's not enforced. So like the MSRP of a starter deck is supposed to be approximately $10. You can find them previously online for about like $7, maybe $8 or something like that. But now local game stores, if they have any left, which they probably don't, they're selling them for like $15, $20. You can find them online for that price as well. And the same goes for booster boxes, where the cost of a booster box right now, you could probably find anywhere from like $130 upwards of $200, where if you were lucky enough to pre-order them, you'd get them for $60 to $100. Oh, sorry. You're gonna say something.
No, I missed the boat on that one a
Yeah.
little bit too late.
And the initial idea was that, oh well, this is just a pre-order, or not a pre-order, a pre-release. So in the future, in January, we're going to be able to just grab the product and it's going to be readily available. And that was the idea until we heard from some other people, notable people in the community who have connections with distributors and things like that, on like Facebook and the Discord and stuff, that there's a pretty good chance that the supply is going to be cut and pre-orders are already selling out. There's not gonna be any like extra allocations on January, and it's actually going to be less supply than what we've already seen. And on one hand, it's good. Like there's a lot of people like shouting doom and gloom that like Bandai selling out of a product is a bad thing. Like on one hand, that's great. Like they shattered their expectations. Whether or not they actually intended to ship as much product as they did to begin with is, I don't know. That's not something that we have the data on, but I get it. I get why players are disgruntled because it's a brand new game and you just want to play the game, right? Like we don't want a Magic the Gathering situation where people can't get basic game pieces in order to play the game that they love. So there's a lot of people who are curious about the game who just want to play. In fact, I had somebody buy like a bunch of bulk commons and uncommons from me because he just wanted cards to play with his wife, and that's it. And that's like cool, awesome. But yeah, I don't know. Moving forward, I'm curious to see if Bandai does anything about it. If they make the game more readily available, if they're even able to. I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Yeah, like I also am curious as to how much current events have affected their production.
Yeah, right. Because
they've really not been able to meet the expectations from a lot of the stores that have been ordering these stuff. They're like, no, I'm sorry, we can't deliver all that. Let's see what you can get.
Or they wildly underestimated English demand.
I mean, yeah, maybe since it's not like Digimon the card game's been doing really well over here.
Well, I mean,
it's died like 2 years after going in like a couple years back. So yeah, maybe that's why they were going based off of.
Yeah, but like I don't know if the original card game did well in Japan either. So like, I mean, like it did initially, but throughout the years, I think it's one of those.
Still getting get parts. The English one didn't survive too.
Sure. And I don't know, like this is one of those things where, like, obviously they've seen the numbers are starting to do well because, like, they've they've announced that like, hey, you guys are gonna get the booster set 4 later, which we'll talk about in the future here. But like, they know that there's demand for it. They know that we as players will buy whatever they sell. And what's interesting is that like there's a lot of people who are interested in like solely collecting, which kind of gives like the Pokemon effect, which to me bodes very well for the game in the future because collectors means that people are going to be buying packs regardless of whether or not they play. That just means that they're going to be eating up like not the rares, but like the special alternate art things, the things that really bolster a secondary market, which is great because that means we're going to have a pretty solid economy, at least in theory. So I think that'll be neat. But yeah, man, I don't know. I just wonder if like, is 1.5 going to be this way as well? Because 1.5 is a set I actually care about. And if that's the case, then, players should pre-order, they should pre-order everything at 1.5 ahead of time. But then there's this like weird cat and mouse thing, right? It's kind of a catch-22 because if you are an existing player and you want to, well, not everyone's kind of new to this game. So if you're an existing player, yeah. there's not many of us. But like, if you're a player who is already interested in the game and you have cards and you know that you want stuff in 1.5, maybe you've been playing since the Japanese release or whatever, then you're going to get all those pre-orders, right? But to an extent, if we're running out of pre-orders for 1.0 and the supply is theoretically similar to 1.0, are we going to run out of stuff for 1.5? Is Bandai actually able to print more cards? I don't know. And of course, nobody knows. This is all conjecture at this point. But it makes it more difficult for people who are just casually interested in playing the game. Like, in a world without COVID, ideally you would want this stuff being sold at your local game stores to just have it on a shelf and people would be like, oh, what's that over there? And then they grab it, they open up a really sweet Metal Greymon, and then they're like, oh, this game is tight. I remember Digimon. It turns out the game's really fun too. And, that's how you could potentially get players. But, one, we're in COVID, right? So now if you're going to find the game, you're going to find it online. But if I'm online and I'm still hearing people, still clamoring for cards and they can't get boxes, on one hand, it's good. That means they're making profits. There's a demand for it, but there's a
You make it impossible for new players to get in.
Yeah, there comes
don't have any,
right. There's going to be a point where that is going to kind of like tip over, and I don't think we're at that point at all. I think we're not close to that point, but like I don't know. It caught my attention, and it's interesting to me. It doesn't necessarily affect like people like me directly because I know I'm going to pre-order it ahead of time, but that doesn't mean that I don't care about new players and stuff. Like I shipped 45 cards out to somebody just so they could build their own deck. Like I want to see new players, and that's kind of the reason like we're even doing this podcast, is because we want players to be interested and invested in the game. But to do that, you kind of have to have the product. I don't know. Maybe
you have to play with them. But again, it still hasn't officially released, so we're still being hopeful that they're able to pump out the product that they need, the numbers that they need.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah. I'm assuming that they've used this time to analyze, like, okay, this thing's selling well. We'll just focus on printing as much as we can and getting it out so people can actually have them on hand instead of having to wait months for the reprints.
Yeah. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the stuff that I am really excited to talk about, and that's the stuff that we heard about the future of the game. So we're going to talk about Booster Set 4, we're going to talk about the release schedule of everything, because we did hear about that, and that kind of affects how we're going to go forward moving on with this game. And the first big thing that we heard is that Booster Set 4, which is called Great Legend, I believe, that comes out in Japan, I believe on the 20th of this month. So they're getting it very soon, in the next couple of weeks. And they announced also that we are going to be getting it in America in May. And they also confirmed that it's a regular set. So we're going to get the same 115 card set that they're getting. Which means that we're not going to get these special boosters anymore. So the special boosters were intended for us to get caught up with Japan. And there was a lot of speculation as to what was going to happen with the English market. Were we going to have basically the same meta as them? Are we going to finally catch up and just be on the same sets? Or are we going to lag behind? And it looks like that's the case, where we're going to be behind pretty much 1 to 2 sets consistently. Because by the time we get Booster Set 4 in May, they'll have already gotten Booster Set 5, and I think Booster Set 6? I'm not 100% sure on that. But if anything, Booster Set 6, yeah. So we're always going to be at least a set behind, possibly 2, maybe even 3, but probably 2. And that kind of creates like a Pokemon situation, right? Where like we know the cards are coming ahead. And it does have some gameplay implications because on one hand, we can already get good predictions as to like what the meta is already going to look like. And yes, the English meta will be different than the Japanese meta on some occasions for sure. But Tony, I don't remember if you remember this in Pokemon back in like the Plasma era of Pokemon, where like we would play something and then somebody in like a Facebook group would be like, oh, so and so in Japan is playing Genesect Virizion, like that's gonna be the new hotness. And then lo and behold, like 3 months later, Genesect Virizion comes out in a set, and it's the new hotness. So like,
you saw it.
Yeah, and I don't. There's two parts to this, because on one hand, for a casual player, it's kind of nice. Like you don't have to think if you want to play the game and you want to just meta game. The meta's kind of already been predetermined. You can plan ahead on what cards you're gonna want. You can already kind of assume what's popular. So like, that part's kind of nice. But then on the other hand, it kind of leaves like the sense of discovery that you get in card games like alone. And I know like you like deck building, like you like brewing your own brews. So like,
I don't really like. That's why I played purple beginning, because I hate Rookie Rush and I despise Omnimon. I'm gonna do my own thing over here in my little corner.
Sure.
Which I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy making my own concoctions and seeing how they work. If I already know from the start, this isn't gonna work because these two over here work. Yours will not. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess it kind of takes a little bit of the fun from building. It doesn't take it away from completely, of course, but it does take a little bit of it. That's kind of like, it kind of sucks.
So I'm assuming you're not a fan of this, like the staggered release.
Being behind, no, because I don't like knowing. Oh, look, that card, I have to wait for it. I want that card. It looks cool, but it's gonna look at the clock until I can get it.
So
And that sucks. But I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna take out my pitchfork and torch
Sure.
and complain about it all day because you know if that's what's gonna be, that's gonna be, and
So wait,
I'll go over it.
you're more bothered by the fact that you can't have the card yet than like the fact
Yeah.
that the meta has already been kind of like predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Because like I'm looking at the spoilers, and well, I know we'll talk about it later, but
Yeah.
all I can think about is I have to wait for you.
Where is
And
Hell's
it kills
Gate?
me inside. I just want you now, but you know I can't.
Okay.
And that's what bothers me the more than the knowing what the meta is gonna be.
Interesting.
Because in most places, I usually ignore the meta.
Okay.
In most cases.
So, would you play in a tournament with like a non-meta Tony Brood
Oh, yeah.
deck? Interesting.
Yes,
We should
I will.
totally do that.
I'm-
I already
I'm
know.
already.
I mean, okay, that's interesting. Like when you have paper cards, we'll have to join a tournament, a webcam tournament, and scrub out. And I really hope we don't play each other because that'd be awful. That's like man, that's like tournament goers at like Evo and stuff. Like they try like in fighting game tournaments, they try to like seed people away from people of the same region because like there have been instances where like two training partners that come from like overseas just fly halfway across the world and then they just play each other, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I gotta knock out my sparring partner. So hopefully that doesn't happen in a tournament.
Yeah,
But-
I kind of see like how far we go until like
Right,
first
yeah.
things first. You two go until
And
like
it's
well,
like, I'll see you in losers,
bye.
Tony. Actually, I don't know because like card game tournaments, they do Swiss and then they do like top 16s, top 8s. So
Right, I forgot about
it's
that,
not just
yeah.
straight losers, which is nice. No one's going to losers yet or ever because they're all just losers.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We all know it's losers, but we just try to name it something else and make ourselves feel better about it.
They call it lower bracket now, which is
Oh,
so lame.
that's nice.
If you're a loser, just take the L.
It's just like, just accept it. It's fine.
It's fine. We all take L's. It is what it is. So okay, moving on from that then. The staggered with the staggered releases. Yeah, I guess I don't know. To me like I like brewing a lot. Like that's my favorite part. Because I like metagaming and then doing like counter meta stuff because I'm just that person.
Yeah.
So like for me the bit of the meta's already been predefined, and if I try to counter meta, there's like almost an extra step that I have to go to because people already know at the time of release like these cards are good because of X, Y, and Z, and their weaknesses are A, B, and C. So it's like, okay, well they already know what to look out for, so now my job is a little bit harder. But I think overall it's like I never thought about it from like that. Oh yeah, I'm actually not going to hold these cards for like 6 months. I never thought about it from that angle. Yeah, that actually sucks worse. Good point.
Like at least with the meta, like okay, it's fine because it was gonna get figured out eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
The meta it was gonna figured out. It's not gonna take, but by the time that everybody gets it, it would have been figured out already. But it's weird. I don't really care for the staggered in all cases, but if it is what it is, then so be it.
That's fair. Especially with like purple too, because purple gets so much gas.
So many good cards.
So-
and I won't be able to see it for a couple more months.
So I guess that's a good
So
segue into the next part here, and we're gonna talk about spoilers a little bit. We're not gonna go too far in. If for whatever reason you're not a fan of spoilers or leaks, then feel free. I'll try to leave a timestamp or whatever where you can skip over this part. But the reason I want to talk about
Respect.
the reason I want to talk about spoilers is not only to just go over some of the cards that we won't be seeing for the next 6 months, but also to talk about the game itself and what it's doing. And we mentioned this before, but we noticed that in Booster Set 3 that the game was trying to carve out new archetypes and new playstyles, and really like try to define playstyles of colors that really needed more support. And we're seeing this a little bit more in Booster Set 4. And it's good because it's an indication that the game itself is going in what seems to be a healthy direction. Now, of course, things can always change, but it looks like as of right now, from the cards that have been spoiled, all of the things have been geared towards new mechanics, like niche cards with various one-off use cases, or just complete support for areas that were lacking in certain colors. And for the people that are uninitiated, when the game first came out, there were only 4 colors. So there was red, blue, green and yellow. And then there were 3 starter decks, red, blue, and yellow. And then on Booster Set 2, they revealed 2 more colors in black and purple. So black and purple kind of naturally just got they just got the short end of the stick, because not only do they have like essentially 1 set less worth of cards, but they also didn't have a starter deck. So the starter decks, unlike some other games like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, the starter decks actually have very valuable cards in them, and not giving access to potentially a suite of 12 to 15 unique cards is kind of a it's kind of a downer for them. So in Booster Set 4, what we've noticed is that like purple, I don't know if there's like an actual release order for these things, but purple got so much stuff. Purple got really good Digimon, like really good level 6s. It got really good options in fantastic removal. One of the biggest problems that purple had with removal is removal of level 6s and 7s. And then we got a card called Hell's Gate, which does exactly that.
Does just that.
And what I really like about it is that it's still conditional, right? Like, it's not... This game does have unconditional removal in Gaia Force, but purple has not been the color to get... Yeah. Purple's not been the color to get unconditional removal, so this is very fitting for that. Yeah.
Most of them are options.
Yeah, pretty much like almost every option that purple has a condition. And this is good because it still fits like the theme and the flavor of purple without it being super busted.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah, and they also got like more option related support because they got what's his name, Drachmon, that lets you grab an extra. You can grab like a 1 cost or a 7 cost option from your
trash.
Thank you. I almost said graveyard. But yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Purple got some interesting stuff, but also like purple also got what's his name, Cerberumon and Cerberumon Werewolf mode, which go with the discard strategy. So purple is a very like aristocracy color where you can sacrifice stuff and do all that, and purple combos really well with that. One thing that a lot of people have noticed as well. Sorry, I'm stealing your purple thunder. I'm sorry. One thing that so many people missed as well with a Cerberumon is that I'll show the 2 cards up here on the feed, but Cerberumon Werewolf mode allows you to sacrifice a regular Cerberumon and pay for its memory cost. So you can basically play this guy for free if you sacrifice the original mode, and when you do that, he has haste, which is a new mechanic that just lets you attack without summoning sickness. It's haste in like every other game.
And that alone is
great.
Good stuff.
But to me, what's more interesting is that the regular purple Cerberumon lets you draw 2 and discard 2. And what you could do discard 1. And what you could do is you could play Back for Revenge and
get him back.
And then you
for
can
free.
For 2, but
for 2.
But yeah, still, like that idea of like, oh well, now I have 2 bodies, one of which is evolved that can swing. You can do so much with it. Like you can swing, you'll have an extra body that you can evolve again, and when he dies again, you'll be able to draw 2 and discard 1. There's a lot of really cool interactions that like purple is starting to develop, and it's becoming even more versatile. But the problem with purple before was that it was a jack of all trades, and not exactly a master of none, but a master of few. But now each of those different routes that you go has a payoff, which is great. And I don't know, for people who like to think and use their brain and overcomplicate things, it's a really good color now. Also it has the Death Touch baby. I don't know his name.
Oh yeah, Digidama. So if you have 10 in your graveyard, screw it. It's graveyard or trash, whatever you want to call it. You get Death Touch.
You get retaliation.
Or retaliation.
Yeah, and that's his name, Xiaomon or something like that. I'll put it on the screen too. But like, yeah, purple's getting really good support. Yeah. Black is getting good support as well, and that's the other color that it was in the same boat as purple, where the identity wasn't fully defined yet, and now we're starting to see that black is starting to grow more. I don't know. Its archetype is starting to be fulfilled in a bit more of a sensible manner, and we're starting to see some really powerful cards come from this set as well. And then there's also cards like colors like red, who gets more removal and more free casting stuff for no reason. And I love red. I love red, but like, there's why red didn't need it. So I don't know, I think it's cool that like we're starting to see those fill out, but then also they're doing other stuff like they're just creating brand new archetypes entirely. So they're doing tribal synergy. I don't know what they're actually going to call it, but like it's looking for specific creature types. In Magic the Gathering we call it tribal. But the idea is that like if there's a card that searches for specifically D Brigade creature types, so it's like you can fish out, like you can search your deck for D Brigade cards. I think Booster Set 3 did something similar to this. So we'll start seeing more tribal synergy in the future. And then there's also the Digiburst mechanic that you can remove Digivolution sources and then activate an effect that kind of acts like it's kind of like ammo or like stocks for a certain ability that you can trigger. And I think that's kind of neat. There are cards that synergize really well with that. And they're just trying to do new things rather than just doing straight power creep. So far. There's probably some busted things in here. But so far, it seems to be pretty good.
Like, they're doing a good job of keeping everything without going too crazy and break the game.
So this is a topic that I'm for sure going to bring up later in the future. But in terms of power creep, because I think power creep has to happen, would you rather have the game go laterally? Like, would you rather have the game stretch out really far laterally where there's just like 50 archetypes or just something crazy, right? And every archetype is of a similar power level? Or do you think at some point, okay, you know what, we've got like 10, 15, 20 archetypes, that's too many. Let's just up the power level a little bit. Would you rather have that, or would you rather just have like way too many archetypes?
I'd much rather have the keep it control level archetypes and then just power
just up it up a little bit. That's fair.
Because I feel like that's a little bit more. That's a way. Well, I believe that's way more healthier for the game itself than just like, yeah, we have way too much that we have no idea what's going on. You freaking choose. We don't know.
That's fair.
I feel like that one you have more control over the game itself. You can scale it the way it needs to be scaled instead of just having just way too much and just losing control of it.
I do wonder if in the way far distant future if we are going to see like some kind of legacy format, which it's too early to talk about that. I just like card games so much. I always think about that. But,
I mean, I feel like you have to at some point.
Sure.
You can't just keep all of them in existence. I'll have to say goodbye to my Lilith Month eventually.
Yeah, but I don't even have Vmon on my hand yet, and I don't want to say goodbye. So I will probably play that deck until the end of time. Like that's probably.
And I'll hate you until you stop.
Man, it's gonna be great.
I
wanted to ask you this earlier in regards to staggered releases too, because this is something that it just came up because we were talking about like different card games and stuff. And I probably should ask this earlier, but Vincent and Structure don't really work out too well. But this is in regards to staggered releases. The Yu-Gi-Oh card game does this thing where they have the OCG and the TCG, and the OCG is basically just the Japanese original card games. They're like the set comes out and it comes out, and then you get the staggered release, which they call the TCG, which the whole global, like the international version plays. For one reason or another, and I've just heard this from Digimon players, I don't know the full reasons behind it, but for one reason or another, the OCG has a different ban list than the TCG, and it's probably because of like meta implications, right? Because maybe like meta things that are popular in one region is unpopular in another, and vice versa. But because they're different ban lists, it creates different meta games on both sides. Would you prefer that? I mean, granted, like we have that's a whole like ban discussion in general, but would you rather have like a global ban on something and then keep the meta the same to kind of preserve the game as like a global thing, or because the game is staggered, do you care and do you just look at like different regions?
If it wasn't staggered, then I would definitely prefer just having everything the same.
Sure.
Globalized, everything's the same. It kind of helps build the community all in one instead of having them kind of separated. I feel like that's better. But since it's staggered, I think that would be okay. No, I can't even say that. I would still think I like to have everything unified. I feel that would be healthier for the community as a whole.
See, what's weird because like the community is naturally going to be divided already, because
Right.
like we're looking at different cards at different times and thinking different things, and also like it's weird because like I don't know, like insert card here gets banned, and then like Americans look at that and be like, well, we don't even play that. Like, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Hopefully, we just never have to ban anything. Maybe that's the that's the play. I don't think.
Hopefully, in the world that is the play.
I don't think the game has a ban list yet, which is good.
Yeah, it'd be kind of messed up for it to have a ban list already with so little cards. It's like, oh wow.
Didn't Dragon Ball have a ban list like pretty early, like 3 or 4 sets? I don't know. I don't know. Like I
tried with those guys.
I have to say, like, doing this has made me very interested in like other card games, not necessarily to like play, but just like to learn them and understand like the culture behind other card games. I think it's interesting. But
yeah, because not like ever since I've started looking into Digimon, I've been also looking into Yu-Gi-Oh and a little bit of Dragon Ball Z recently.
Yeah.
But I've also been I didn't even know Dragon Ball had a card game.
Really? I thought you'd be like all over that. Like I thought you would just be like, oh dude, like I'm not gonna play it, but you know, let me get a Vegeta.
I was just never aware that the card game existed. So I don't know. I've been finding myself looking at different card games as well.
Which is weird. Like we talked about this a little bit like off stream. This isn't a stream. What is this? Off camera. About like how Magic players are kind of like in their own little Magic bubble, and like anime players are in their own little anime bubble. And there's like obviously there's crossover and stuff, and there's no like ill will behind it. Well, usually there's no ill will behind like anything. It's just like, you know, you just like what you like. But I don't know, for whatever reason, like this game has made me very curious on other stuff. So that's all with that I had to say.
Yeah, like a lot of anime TCG players, they oh my gosh, I can't speak. They diversify quite a bit. Well, MTG just kind of just we'll just stick here.
Well, I mean,
and that's how I was for a long time. I'll stay with here and not really worry about anything else.
I think the primary reason is that like Magic is just so big that like you never really get done. Like if you're done playing Magic and you've like played every format or whatever, you're probably broke.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's it. And
I don't even know how long I've been playing this game for, and I still feel like I am just way over my head. I have no idea like much of everything. Huh?
I said scrubby.
Yeah. No. Definitely. I have. I will never be able to compete in any capacity in Magic the Gathering. No matter how long I've been playing this game.
I've won the first and only pre-release tournament I ever went to in Magic, and I will probably never go to another one because I could say I have 100% win rate.
Maintain that at all costs.
My tournament record, flawless. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the Digimon TCG, like this week, it's not going to be flawless.
No. I can't wait to look at that one.
Omnimon save me. I don't know, maybe we'll do a deck. Not a deck, like a tournament report or something. One thing that I definitely want to do in the future, because I think those are really all the topics that we had here, unless you wanted to bring anything else up. But one of the things that I wanted to go over at some point, because like we intend on making other videos, not just like podcast style things. Like we want to do gameplay stuff, and we actually have some ideas coming down the pipeline that we're not ready to disclose quite yet. So at some point, you will be seeing gameplay videos from us, and you will be seeing us make lots of misplays and scream at each other.
The last game we played.
The last game we played was awful.
Will never go away.
It was just like, oh my god, I misplayed. And you're like, dude, that sucks. And you're like, I misplayed. Like that was the whole game.
I think at one point we went 4 turns of just constantly just like, I misplayed that turn. I just misplayed.
Which, if anything, goes to show you that like we're not claiming that we're good players or that you should take what we say as gospel, right?
Because we're far from that.
Yeah, absolutely. But we've got other things like lined up in the pipeline that one day we'll be ready to show at everybody. But yeah, I think a tournament report video would be kind of neat. That also like requires me to have like interesting games, and I don't know. What if I just like scrub out? Also, I don't know. Like the 1.0 meta is going to be so samey. Like I expect to run into Omnimon, Rookie Rush, the hipster purple deck fully. Like those 3, like I'm gonna see for sure. And then I'll see like the one-off guy who thinks that he can run green control. and then realizes that
And then he's getting annihilated.
yeah, and then realizes that like Gaia Force
Bless
Mamamon
your
exists.
heart.
So like there's probably one guy out of like our 60 views that we're gonna get off of this video that's like pissed now. I'm sorry that
We still love
I'm
you.
sorry, yeah, we love you.
Gotta
Look,
admit,
Green's powerful.
that ain't a good one.
Look, Green's powerful. You're gonna get Ceresmon or whatever his name is, and it's gonna be sick. You're gonna get Argomon, and it's gonna be sick.
You have to wait a couple of months.
But
Patience.
you're gonna get starter deck Hercules, Kabuterimon. Green's gonna be great. Don't worry about what we say. Green's gonna be fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's like the gist of it. Did we leave anything out? Is there anything you wanted to?
I don't think so. I think we got most
up?
of the topics that you wanted to hit.
Yeah. I'm curious to see like the results of the really just upcoming tournaments. Man, the one thing. Okay, actually, let's talk about this real quick. Wish list items that I want to see from like the community as a whole. I would love a nice place to have a tournament like, not a tournament website, but just like a place to like see all tournament results. Like Magic had this for a while, where you can go on like MTG Goldfish or like Channel Fireball, and you could see like the list of like all the tournament standings, what decks they were using. I would love just like one centralized place for like everybody to just enter in their data. I think that'd be sweet. Dude, I thought about making like a deck building like app today where you can have like a card database. I thought about doing that, like just sitting there at work. Yeah, I was just sitting there at work, and I was like, I could make a bot. And then I thought about like Discord bots, because I'm teaching my little cousin how to code. And I was like, what if I made like a Discord bot where you can like just do like the scryfall, you know, like the double brackets and then the card name. So that was in my brain as well. But then like I started thinking about like databases, and I don't want to keep up with it. So I don't know.
Fair enough.
But I think this community is definitely passionate. In fact, I would say they're more passionate than like a lot of other communities that we've seen.
Yeah, and it's been awesome to see like just how much people have been just clamoring for anything on Digimon, which is great. We can see that very often.
A lot, yeah. Like honestly, like other communities, I'm pretty disappointed in. Especially like we come from fighting games where the fighting game community is cannibalizing and everyone is toxic to each other, and it's like you can't like more than one fighting game, and it's like ugh. So I don't know, it's been pretty cool to see everyone do their thing and all like the fan projects coming up, and hopefully we see more stuff. But yeah, I think that's all I had to say. You got anything?
I think that was most of the things we wanted to speak of. That's all good. I think we're good there.
All right. Well, I would say join us next week, but I don't think we're gonna do it next week. We'll do it as we see it, you know. So we said this last time, but definitely at some point in time we'll be making more content. We'll probably be doing more streams of other random stuff, the gameplay videos of like friends and I hanging out, that type of stuff. And then when the time is ready, you'll see a new gameplay series coming from two guys who don't know how to play.
Title pending, but that one's actually that one's number one.
So with all that being said, yeah, I don't know, the typical YouTube like, comment, subscribe type thing. Same as last time. We welcome all discussions. For Twitch, you can follow me at VeekXP. It's not the same as the digital Discord podcast. Discord. I keep saying Discord. I'm staring at the Discord icon. The digital Discourse. We gotta get our own name right, Tony. What are we doing? But you can follow. Yeah. Maybe I should make a Twitter. I don't know. Follow us on Twitch. Subscribe to this channel. Stay tuned for more stuff. Feel free to say hi. Get some games in. Play some Digimon. And until next time, I think we're out.
You guys take care.
Peace.